How are you?
Well, how are you?
Fabulous. So tell us first about the markets that you work in, because there's a little overlap, but not a lot between what Gene does and what you guys do.
Right, so the markets we're in Jacksonville, Palm Coast, which is just below that. We're in North Central Florida, which is what I like to call it Ocala, some surrounding areas there, as well as Southwest Florida, so Cape Coral, Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, and some of those surrounding areas down there.
So before I ask her about what they build, they're new builders, they build awesome stuff. But before that, we had a chance in August to go on a field trip there. You guys were both there. Who else was on the field trip to Jacksonville? Okay, Ruben was there, Russ came to a Russell guys field trip. It was awesome. Usually there. And so we're going to go again. It was so great. We filled up the bus. We had an awesome time. But before we tell the story about what you guys build and what you do, because it's interesting, first I want to hear your feedback on I want to hear you tell us the story of what happened after we left.
Okay, so we've been working with you guys for a while, but I honestly had, other than the little bit of interaction through email and getting leads, I really had no idea what you did or how big the organization was. So you came into town and we did this great field trip, and I'm there, I'm working. That was my whole function, was to work this event. I didn't think anything else of it. And then I realized during this trip that I am everyone in this room. And I can be a set. I can be anyone in this room if I want to be. And I do not come from any kind of investment background at all. My parents will work until they die. I wasn't taught any of that. And I'm like, I can do this. And so Russ tells the free duplex story, and I'm like, wait, I have this house that I bought almost 10 years ago. I can do that. So since then, I've done a cash out refinance on my house. And I have a little bit of money put away, and I actually was approached by someone that I know that I have a great relationship with, who was like, hey, if you find a great deal, I will invest with you. So I'm actually working on something right now, which kind of fell in my lap, which is the horse property outside of Jacksonville, through a friend. She was like, hey, I think I'm gonna sell my property, and I said, don't. I said, hold on to that. Do not put it on the market, and do not sign anything with a real estate agent. I think I'm gonna take your property. So since then, just since August, that's what I've learned from this group, and that I could be just like everyone else.
Let's give her a hand for that. I will say that on day 2 at the bus, we actually secretly did pass out the Kool-Aid, and that's what no, so we wanted to see, most of our field trips, we come in Friday, we do a market overview. Saturday all day, we get in the bus, we drive around, look at properties, and Sunday we're back in the classroom to talk about what we saw, and run numbers, and talk, banks and all that. And this is such a big market that they're in that we spent one extra day, and we're going to do that again in August. So 2 days in the bus, and the second day we went down to Ocala, and we learned that Ariane likes horses, right? She has a horse affinity. So when you said it's a horse property, it's like, and then she took us to the billion-dollar horse empire that is Ocala. Do you guys know about this? Like, it is unbelievable, and it's a huge driver in the marketplace. We'll go see it. We're going to see it again. We're going to go see it again. She set us up to go have lunch in there, and we saw the horses. It was amazing. Big hotel. But the point is, you can't get around this too much without starting to be interested. And what they do is they help people find investment properties, and they build them from the ground up, and a lot of them. So Suncoast is their property management company. We met Suncoast and Chris Fogg from Step McCom, who says, I think there's a match. I think you're going to like these guys. I flew there. We did a radio interview. We walked through the office, met a whole bunch of their people. Totally impressed with the caliber of the people, the way, their hospitality, everything about it. Went out and looked at some of the houses. Awesome. So we decided to put together this trip. And back in the day, the real estate guys would do a field trip to a new market every month, and it was awesome. But, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And Russ and I often talk about how sometimes we say no to the good and say yes to the great. It just got to be long weekends on buses with mostly newer investors, not seasoned sophisticators. So given our choice, we'd rather probably spend time with seasoned syndicators. We love them. We love those little mom and pops that buy single family houses, but you gotta only have so many hours in the day, right? Love to make a difference. I think we can do that on the radio. I think if we ever reprinted our book, it would help, and so on. But we decided we'll go to Jacksonville because we got awesome feedback from Ariane's team in terms of, so she's on the sales side, and Suncoast is the property management side, and their home building business really grew out of a need for inventory. There wasn't inventory, and once Chris and his dad bought a bunch of rehab and did a bunch of flips, and had property, they couldn't find any good management, so they started a management company. So this is the making of a turnkey opportunity, and for most of our listeners, they'll buy a house every 5 years. But when we were there, we learned that they have a much bigger appetite and they have bigger tracts of land and so forth. So talk about first the kind of product you guys, this is a picture of the field trip at one of their complexes. These are fourplexes and they're beautiful and they're built well, but they're not overbuilt. They're very tenant friendly. Tenants love them, but you're not going to overpay for them. So talk about, this is one of the products you have, but you do everything from single family kind of on up.
Yeah, so we build single-family, duplex, and quadruplexes. We do infill lot, like Gene spoke about, as well as we do developments. So this is one of our developments here called Western Way. And this is actually in Jacksonville, but we're actually building more of these up there, as well as we do a single-level one as well. So these are 2 units on the bottom, 2 units on top.
These ones are on the water, which is kind of unique, right?
Yeah, they have a lake.
A little lake back there, yeah. Not on the water in Florida like on the beach. No, there's a little lake behind. It's really, really quite spectacular. And then they have branched out actually beyond the state of Florida, but in these Florida markets that we're going to go see, they've really figured out what the need is. So talk about that target tenant that you guys are attracting.
Yeah, so we're really attracting people in the medical fields. There's a lot of new hospitals going in, a lot of new schools. I'm driving up and down the interstate to Jacksonville every day because I actually live in St. Augustine, which is just south. And there's hospitals going in on the interstate, as well as I think that they have 5 or 6 new schools going into surrounding areas of Jacksonville as well, and those other markets. There's a lot of manufacturing and housing or warehousing around there as well in all of these markets. So there's a lot of people coming there who need, that more affordable, nice housing.
And it's the same thing as far as being a syndicator, look for inventory. What Ariane and her team can do for you is look at what they have coming down the road. They do, not quite like Terry Kerr, but they do have kind of a waiting list from time to time because they don't want to overbuild and they don't want to tax their team too much, but they are growing and scaling. And so you can put together a nice package of 4 or 5 different markets, maybe even a couple different product types. So if you're interested in that, talk to Ariane and come on the field trip. All right, let's Ariane. Thank you very much. Gus and I are going back to Jacksonville and we're going to hang out and have a good time.